Hey guys, it's Caroline, and today I'm going to continue what we spoke about in the last video, which was around the 6 types of money and your money mindset. And today I'm going to specifically talk about savings. So savings is an important aspect of your relationship with money, because it could be, for example, that you earn a lot of money, but for whatever reason, because you don't have a strong money mindset, you may not actually save any of it. You could spend everything that you earn and potentially even have debt around that too. And so savings is a good indication about the strength of your relationship with money. And so as I go into this a little bit further, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that we all have what's called a mind-body connection around savings. And so specifically what this means is that you currently have certain beliefs around savings, and you also have certain feelings and emotions about savings. And so when we're talking about savings, quite simply, I mean the amount of money that you have saved. So whether that's in your bank accounts or in cash, it's really just the generic meaning of savings. And when I talk about this mind-body connection, it can be hard to know what your beliefs or feelings are around savings, because it's not really something that we talk about and it may not necessarily jump out at you. And so a good way to find out what those feelings and beliefs are is by answering a few quick questions. How much do you have currently in savings? So just make a mental note of that. Now, the next question you want to ask yourself is, how much would you like to have in savings? And particularly note if there's a gap between what you have and what you'd like to have. And then the third part is based on where you are right now. So, your current level of income, wherever you are in life, how much do you think you should have in savings? So, potentially, is there an expectation gap between what you'd like to have or what you think you should have and where you are right now? Now, in reflecting on these questions, what I want you to now think about is what feelings or beliefs have popped up to you. Now, it's one thing to note is some people are more feeling dominant and some people are more thought dominant. So what this means is some people will react with emotion straight away, and other people will start to, process what I've said in a logical manner. And so that means you're more thought dominant. And so as I've asked you these questions, so particularly how much you have in savings right now versus how much you think you should have, how does that make you feel? So, do you feel really happy with where you're at? Or do you feel disappointed, maybe even embarrassed, maybe angry? Like, what feelings start to pop up? Does it stir anything up within you? Like, do you wish you were in a better place than where you're at? Now, the other way to reflect on this, as I said, is to think about your thoughts or your beliefs around it. And so a good way to work out what those beliefs are is to ask, well, what does this say about me? So if I only have this much saved, but I really think I, should have X amount or double what I've got, then what's that saying about me? Why is it that I'm not doing as well as I think I should be? And so they're examples of the different thoughts and beliefs that you might have around savings. Now, one thing to point out, I'm just having a look at the comments here. Okay, so Suraj is saying you're thought dominant. Yeah, so am I. So it's really quite interesting because some people actually get quite overcome with emotion and, just suddenly feel a lot of anger or sadness. I tend to just process things logically, and then it might even be days later that suddenly I react to what it is that I was thinking about. So it's really interesting to see whether people are one or the other. Okay, and you've also said that happy with savings but need to grow your income. And yeah, look, that's a great point, because that's why I talk about the 6 types of money, because you might find that you're really strong in one area, but not so strong in another area. And, it's really that combination of all the different types of money that explains or shows you how strong your overall relationship is with money. And overall, what we're seeking to have is the balance across all of the types. So that's why I'm going to cover all of them in the next few videos. So just jumping back to savings then. So the significance of savings is that it actually talks to how safe and secure you feel in the world. And so if you've faced a lot of disappointment or sadness or loss in your life, then chances are you're more highly likely to struggle with savings overall. So that's just something to keep in mind. Habits around savings. So, you know, just thinking about where you're at right now, are you someone who is really disciplined and, you know, every paycheck you save, you put something aside, whether that's a set amount or a percentage? Or are you a person who just saves what's left over, if there is anything left over at the end of your pay cycle? Or I know in some cases, some people don't even bother with savings, perhaps because they've got debt. So any spare money goes back to debt repayment. So, you know, which category describes you? And, you know, you don't have to answer it publicly, just something to think about. But, you know, one thing I want you to realize is that even if right now you have bad habits around savings and you'd like them to be better, I can certainly help you improve those. But one thing to note is that it's actually the feelings and the beliefs around savings that were there first. And so where I talked about the disappointment and the sadness that you may have experienced earlier in life, if that sounds like you, then what tends to happen is that because we've held on to those feelings and they run through your nervous system, what you would then do is you would build your habits for savings around those feelings and those beliefs of, you know, disappointment and sadness. And so, you know, really what we do is we set up these habits that are counterproductive, but we do it as a way of giving ourselves a reminder that, you know, life is hard. Life was really tough when we were younger, perhaps, and we set up these habits that kind of keep us stuck in those emotions. And so the way that you break the cycle, there's really two things that you have to do, which I've kind of touched on already. So the first one is that, you know, you really have to improve your mindset around savings. And you do that by letting go of all those past feelings of disappointment and loss. And, you know, once you're able to do that, then you're effectively able to change your habits, which is the second step. So you want to actually build practical and productive habits around savings. And so people will often ask me, well, which comes first? And, you know, the answer is you ultimately have to do both. And I tend to like to focus more on the mindset first. But in some cases, you know, it's a bit like if you want to get into better shape and people ask, well, what's more important, diet or exercise? And again, the answer is both. And so I just say to people, look, start with what's easier, because one will cause the other to, you know, to follow. And so, you know, in this case, I don't have time to sort of go over all of the mindset elements in this video. So what I'll suggest just for this time is that you actually start by changing a really simple habit. So if you haven't saved before or you'd like to improve your saving habits, then next time you get paid, so whenever that is, think about an amount of money or a percentage of money that you'd like to put aside. And it doesn't need to be a super stretch goal, because if you stretch it too far at this stage, if you're just starting out, then you're likely to just be setting yourself up for failure and you won't do it. So keep it really small. So whether that's, I don't know, $50 or $10 or whatever it is, the point is we want to set up a habit. And so by setting up this habit, when we then come to working on the mindset, you'll then have a grounding of self-belief that you can actually make the changes because you would have started to apply some of the discipline around saving an amount of money. And again, the amount is irrelevant. It's the habit that we want to set up here. So if that's something that you're happy to do, just drop me a comment, or, you know, if it's quite personal to you and you don't want to publicly broadcast it, then feel free to shoot me a message and, you know, just share with me what you're going to put aside and how you'll change the habit. So that's it for me today on savings. So in my next video, I'm going to talk to you about the next type of money, which is debt. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.